Hello, I'm Jeremy and welcome to my channel. I do 2 videos a day, Monday through Friday. The first one is the YouTube channel Practical Focused Improvement, and the other one is Freedom of Expression. Is that right? Yeah, Practical Focused Improvement. And that first one is just exactly as the title says. I'm trying to focus on myself with practical things to improve myself. Because yes, I believe in personal responsibility. Nobody's going to do anything for you. If you really want something done, you have to do it yourself. And that's not a guarantee that everything's just going to work out for you. But it would be really hard for things not to get better if you're working at making things better. I mean, how else do you think it's going to happen? Anyways, then I have this channel here, Freedom of Expression. Now, if you're watching on something besides YouTube, then this is all condensed into one. I have 2 separate ones on YouTube because it's YouTube and they're crazy and make no sense. I mean, they do make sense, but you have to think nefariously. And one of the things that I did a while ago was I was thinking of creating a little, just like above my head that I have here, some kind of information sheet about politicians and what's going on, just to help keep it all straight, because they just lie constantly about so much. And I'm tired of the lying and the nonsense. But what do we need to do? Because it's a balancing act. It's lying intentionally, lying unintentionally, lying because you just didn't know. You know, these are all different. So I have this spreadsheet, or just WordPad here. I did this one a while ago. I just randomly did it. Just titled President Joe Biden. These are the lies. I just barely did this. There were 7 of them on April 8th, 2021. He talks about how you can't yell fire in a theater, and free speech says you can. In fact, there was actually a lawsuit that went to court and straightened all that out. And then another one says he can pass legislation overriding the Second Amendment. Biden wrongly denounces constitutional rights in order to enforce democratic gun control agenda. And it's like, yeah, Republicans and Democrats do this all the time. They just do a bunch of nonsense that they're not supposed to. And Trump did it as well. And it's one of the things that the president does the most is they go off and they sign these executive orders whenever it's supposed to go through Congress. And they do this all the time. And that's what Biden was talking about doing right here with this gun control stuff. It's like, no, you can't do it. The only way it's done is that it has to go through the House of Representatives and the Senate, and then he can veto it, maybe. So, but that's the way that you're supposed to do it. And then on April 10th, 2021, there were 2 more that I found. I don't know if he did these. Do the dates matter? Maybe so. It says there's no border crisis historical record for child crossings. Migrant crisis now worse in history. Biden's plan failed. This is a disaster, and Biden created it. Because even back in April, whenever he took control, he was saying, yeah, come, kind of. He almost flat out said it. He said something like they won't be rejected if they're fleeing, or something to those effects. Let's in migrants that have COVID. And so even then, and he's still doing it today, currently there's Haitians that are fleeing because of a government that has collapsed and an earthquake. Actually, they've had a couple of them, one recently and one roughly 10 years ago. And instead of helping them to rebuild and to bring stability to the region, because I don't know why they would object to that. It would just be something along the lines of, we can send in the military and we can stop all the gangs and the shootings. and then you can hold elections and reestablish yourselves. But no, instead it's just we're just sitting back and doing absolutely nothing, letting all of these people suffer. And then the Haitians that are coming over, Haiti's an island, so they have to cross, and a lot of these Haitians already fled, and now because Biden said something to the effect of that you can come, that they're all coming. Instead of fixing the problem, it's putting a bandage on this huge wound where it requires massive amounts of surgery and grafting and all this other kind of stuff. It's like, oh no, here's a little band-aid. It's like, it's going to do absolutely nothing. Bleeding like a stuck pig over here. I need more than a band-aid. And even back then, they didn't have masks. Just come into the country, it's okay. Then on 5/25, there was 3 Biden cuts back on infrastructure bill. Does nothing for student loans. He just stops, doesn't come up with any alternatives or other solutions for his running issues, just quits. So this was a little too vague because I don't remember exactly what I was talking about, but I know with student loans he was talking about how he was going to get rid of them somehow, which if you had half a working brain, you knew that that was just a straight up lie. It's like, how are you going to do that? That these rich people who can afford to send their children to college were going to make the rest of the country help pay off their student loans? Okay. Because poor people can't afford to do that. It's only rich people who can send their kids off to college. And then on the infrastructure bill, I'm sure that was Green New Deal stuff that they were trying to put in there. And once that he won, it's like, well, you just don't follow up on this. And this is something that I've talked about, is that whenever anybody is running for office, that they should have to list all their political views, how they stand on all this stuff, and then they don't get to change. That's because that's what you won on. You are there representing the people, not yourself. You won that position because this is what they wanted. And so then you have to stick to it. You know, maybe if some new information came out, something along those lines, but it would have to be new. It couldn't be like new to them. It's like, oh, well, I didn't know this. It's like, so what? They've known this for decades. That's not an excuse. You have to stick by this. You know, now, if something new happened, like COVID is a new thing, you know, it's like, well, you could have some kind of change of thought, maybe something with the medical field and how you're going to deal with all that. It's like, okay. Biden waters down his infrastructure bill, stabs left on the back with student loans. And then Biden gives money to everyone except for white men. This is racist. Joe Biden claims to be racist, but his policy is exactly that. It's like, yep. And then it went to federal court. Rules Biden's policies are racist against white people. Tulsi slams anti-white racism. All right. So if you too are tired of politicians lying and doing all of this nonsense, then hit the like button to subscribe and become a member, because I can't. How many politicians are there? How many governors and mayors? How many people sit with the Senate and the House of Representatives? And then each state also has that too. I can't keep track of them all, but I would absolutely love to. And it's not like it can't be done. One of the steps to get to where I want is that I need to be able to hire people. I want it to be to a point, though, where you can do this. So if you see some nonsense, we can build this together, because it's even more than what I could hire people to do. So if you're tired of the lies and all that kind of nonsense, then help me out. And this is coming about because he is lying yet again. And this is because of Tim Pool came out with an articles of impeachment filed against Biden. GOP reps cite Democratic violating separations of power. And it's like, yes, because he just cannot just go off and do things just because. A lot of this stuff is supposed to go through Congress. It's supposed to be a checks and balances there, so you don't have some lunatic dictator going off doing stupid stuff like Biden's doing. But you know what? They've all done it Obama, Trump, Bush, they all have. And they just become more, they just care less and less as time goes on. And I think part of it is because, well, the last president did it, so if they did it, then so can I. Tell you what, I really have no intentions of ever running for office, but I tell you what, if by some just weird, twisted fate of a reason that I happen to be president, I tell you what, that is one of the things that I'm going to do, is that I would just absolutely just write all of these executive bills, or whatever they call them, and just write all of these executive bills just saying all of this stuff that it should already be there. It's like I would just hammer it into the ground. So let's take a look here. Before we get into this, I want to transpose something. So over here in topics, I have, what's one of the newer ones that I'm doing? COVID. We'll open that up. Yep, let's have this. I like to have this up as a reminder. And so up at the very beginning, let's put that. Now, this isn't about changing anyone's minds. If you like President Joe Biden or Donald Trump or whoever, I don't give a damn. I don't care for Republicans or Democrats. They can all go jump off a bridge. I am a soldier of truth. I want to know the truth. And they all lie, every last one of them. I'm tired of it. And there's not a good enough verification system with all this. In fact, it's pretty much non-existent. And it's because there are some, but they're just scattered all over the place. It's like, no. That'll never work. That'll absolutely never work at all whatsoever. And so I just want to bring information forward to everyone out there, to all of you, so then you can decide for yourselves what the hell it is that you want to do, instead of all this lying, manipulative crap that's going on. So, for example, the past couple of days I've been going over articles and I've been changing the wording on them to fit something that more suits reality. So it's like this stuff with the border going on with the Haitians, how these people have, or agencies, have been doing human trafficking. Because if it was something else, if you just replaced Haitians and migrants with drugs or with weapons, it's completely illegal. And if they were caught doing this stuff, they would all be arrested. Well, human trafficking's illegal too. Blindly crossing the border instead of at a port of entry is illegal. We don't have to do anything with these people. They should be told, go back. You know, and there's no explanation that needs to be given other than that. You can go back. And then, you know, should they be shot at? I would like to say no on that, but some people are just stubborn. I would say, well, you could at least taser them, though, and you can spray them with pepper spray and stuff like that. And then these places where they're crossing, so they're crossing at a small border town. It's like, well, that would have been a good place to do the wall, which Joe Biden stopped. Trump already had it all set up. They were building, and they were still going, and he just stopped it. You know what? He didn't provide a reason for it. It's like, no, you don't get to do that. You have to have reasons for why you're doing what you're doing, and just not doing it off of a whim. So what are the things that we want to know about these people? I do not care about them doing their jobs. I just don't. You know, if they're doing what they're supposed to, it's like, okay, I don't want to know one way or the other. I can only do so much. So I definitely want to know about the lies. So how do we want to do that? We're just going to count them, I guess. So I guess this is right here. I think I may start over. Because what else do we want to know about the lies? Oh, is this all messed up? Oh. what we want to know about the lies is, do we want to know the dates? Let's brainstorm here. Dates, people involved, because like it's not just Joe Biden who's doing this, it's others. Put it on pause for a moment and then I'll get back. Okay, so what are we talking about? Yeah, I was thinking maybe instead of lies it should be corruption or something along those lines, but that's not what I'm doing. What I just pasted on here is that I'm trying to show lies. That's what I've been doing forever because of all this misinformation that's going on. So the dates, it's like, yeah, because I think having the dates on it would help in being able to focus in on it. So if somebody wanted to look it up, having the date would definitely help. What about the place? Would the place help? The day, time, place. Well, no, because I mean, as long as you know the date and you're talking about Joe Biden or any other politician, you're going to know where they're at. So I think just the date's enough, because I can't overfill this with just, even though that would be information, it's kind of redundant information. It's like I can't misallocate my time like that. I just need enough that it should suffice. And so it's like dates, yeah. So what is the lie? So to be specific, because it's kind of hard to be truthful about stuff if you're not being specific. That's something that a lot of them like to do, is they're very general with a lot of things. It's like, no, deal with it. And so what type of lie is this? Or maybe even corruption. I don't know if those two are really separate or not. It's like, no, we'll separate them. Screw it, yeah. If it's wrong, then I'll just go back and change it later. So what kind of lie is this about? Are they lying because they're corrupt? Okay, yeah. Are they lying because they're just abusing their power? Because they're just, like maybe with the Ukraine deal with his son? Are they lying with lack of transparency? Because you know what? Everything should be transparent. That there should be some things that are top secret, of course. Like definitely the military. We could see how things would need to be, for security clearance reasons and things that are just going on that, we don't need the whole world, or even that we don't even need to know, and that we're just going to have to put a little bit of level of faith and trust in them. But things that are going on, like with the highway or the education system or the transportation system, the education system, food and agriculture, with all these other departments, it's like, no, it needs to be 100% transparent. I don't give a damn. It's like politicians are not being elected so that they can go behind closed doors and make deals to get them rich. Screw that trash. It's like, if they're doing what they're supposed to and everything's good, then there shouldn't be a reason to let the whole world know, or at least all the U.S. citizens know what the hell's going on. But what type other kind of things that could be lies, like a failure to act, like with the border crisis. Like they're saying that there's nothing going on, that everything's okay, and it's like, no. And this isn't the first time here, as we just saw here. Is it some kind of misinformation, or in other words, just a direct lie? That would be misinformation. So an outright lie. Are they lying maybe on a procedural basis, that they're doing some kind of executive order whenever it's supposed to be the legislator branch that's supposed to be doing it? Or are they lying and they're just flat out breaking the law, such as with the human trafficking that's going on? Yeah, yeah, I think that would be good. So let's switch this up into two here. Let's do something like one. Get out of my face. And then two. I don't want much more than this. Is there a third thing that we would want to know with all this? Why? Why is it doing that? Three could be, okay, well, so one of the things that I do with kids is whenever they've done something wrong, there's three things that I go over with them. One is, well, what did you do that was wrong? Be specific. You could think of it kind of like a vocabulary word in a way. So really specific. The second thing is, okay, well, now let's define it. Let's explain why this was wrong and you shouldn't do this. And then the third thing is, what can you do to make things better? So, yeah, kind of the same kind of outline right here. So, what should be done about it? Examples would be impeachment, jailed, fined, changes in the law, accountability, I don't know, maybe I'll change that. Should there be a fourth thing? Who should be taking actions? Other political leaders. How about just citizens? I think there should be a better check and balances that's going on, because all the checks and balances that we have right now is just the government with the government. It's like, no, it should be much easier for maybe something along the lines that, I mean, of course you would have to have evidence, you would have to bring a case. But that if you've got good evidence and you have a good case, then a lawyer should be able to take that up. And then if you win, it should be something like the politician should, like, especially the more serious it is, could lose up to half of everything that they have. And then part of that would go to the government, that it just gets confiscated. And then all your legal fees probably double. You know, because what you want to do is you want to give incentive. It too would need to be checks and balances. And so if you find this outright corruption and you bring the evidence together, to get a lawyer involved, you could say, well, you're going to get double or triple your fees for this, because, you know, a politician can do a lot of harm. There's a lot that they're responsible for, so you do want to get rid of the bad actors. And then also the civilians, you know, that they should get a lot for doing all of this, because this in and of itself could be just a huge job, just putting this all together. But to kind of balance, you don't want people or lawyers to just start filing one case after another. And so one of the things that you could really do to kind of help slow that down is that you would have to get a lawyer. You wouldn't be able to do it yourself. And that if the lawyer loses the case, then they could be barred from practicing law, perhaps. Or at least that might be the maximum punishment. And so perhaps they can't practice law for like a year or maybe even a lifetime. It would depend. Just something to balance it out on the other side. Maybe there's some other things that could help with that. Maybe that if you lose, then whatever it was that you were going to get, if you were going to get 2 or 3 times, whatever set amount is, instead of you receiving it, then you would lose it and you would have to pay for it. Or no, because politicians usually have quite a bit more money than the average person. So if it would be the politician would lose half of everything, then you would lose half of everything. So it wouldn't be the same. Because your half wouldn't be as much as a politician's, but it's still half of what you have. Because if you're going to go all out, it's like, okay, well then you better have it down. And then I guess you could also say then you also have to have something to bring to the table too. Because you can't just have like all these bums who are just doing it. It's like, yeah, I don't have anything, so what do I care? So I guess you have to show that you're competent in a way. So you would have to actually have something worth losing. But I don't know. I guess would you really have to be worried about bums? Because it's like, how would they get enough information together? So the checks and balances could be between the people, the lawyers, and the government. Something along those lines. Anyways, let's go ahead and listen to what Tim Pool has to say here. I'm going to back it up just a little bit here to start off.
But Donald Trump was impeached for that? They called it abuse of power. Then they impeached him over January 6th. What did we learn? FBI said there was no coordinated plot, didn't happen. The people entered the building, but there was no plan and they had no idea what they were doing. That's from the FBI. And they impeached him for that. Joe Biden has broken the separation of powers 3 times. The first eviction moratorium.
Okay, I'm going to add these. Yep, I know about the eviction moratorium. I'm a landlord. I know all about that crap. Fortunately, we didn't have that garbage going on over here in Texas. It's like I will evict you. And it's because if you don't pay your rent, I still have to pay my mortgage. So if you can go get the bank to not pay on the mortgage, come on. Then maybe. But until that happens, it's like no. I have bills and responsibilities and all that stuff that I've got plans to do with this money. So no, you can't do that. Oh, okay, yeah, we'll keep going.
The second, and then the Supreme Court said no, and then he went and just violated the Supreme Court, and I said, wow, that's 4 times actually. Wait a minute, not to mention the OSHA standards. First he says, I'm going to implement an eviction moratorium without legislature. Does it. So he bypasses them. The Supreme Court says you can't do this, and then he says, okay, I'll do it again anyway. Once again, bypassing the legislature. And
yeah, he did that twice. Is he going to talk about what's that? The CDC?
And the Supreme Court again, and then the the vaccine mandate bypasses legislation, the legislative branch once again. That is overt abuse of power. And the Supreme Court says you're done, you can't do it, and he says, I'll do it anyway. And he's like, yeah, maybe, it might be, we think it's legal, we'll see. Overt.
Yeah, and see, it's all a lie, and it's all nonsense, because that's not the procedure. They know what the procedure is. Has nothing to do with whether if any of that stuff was right or wrong. That's something else. I would say it's all wrong. But if that's what you want done, It's like, if you want a change in the law, it has to go through the legislature. If you want to make it law that everybody has to get vaccinated, or if that renters don't have to pay their rent, he just can't arbitrarily just go do these changes.
Abuse of power. Now, as for everything else, impeachment for high crimes and misdemeanors, I don't know about that. I think we're talking about Amendment 25 on Joe Biden's incompetence. They say, in his statement on Facebook about the resolution, Gibbs wrote Biden's willful negligence of the border crisis is a failure to maintain and defend American sovereignty. Biden's attempts to extend a federal eviction moratorium despite the Supreme Court's warning, and his own admission he has no power to do so, is a blatant and intentional action that violates the separation of powers. Gibbs, sir, you are correct.
Yes, so it's like, well, why do they have these special leniencies for them to just go over and just to do whatever the hell it is that they want? It's like, no.
And I agreed. There are political dynamics in Congress I recognize will prevent this from ever being debated. But I could not stand by while President Biden commits what I believe to be flagrant and deliberate violations of his oath of office.
I'm glad that Gibbs is kind of doing this a little bit, but part of me is always just, whenever it's any politician, it's just like, you're just doing this to try to boost your career. But I know, I mean, I guess at the same time you can say, well, what the hell else is he supposed to do? It's because the whole system is outdated. It's just, there's a lot of good stuff to it. But because of technology, it's just allowing people to just lie and manipulate on such a grand scale without being held accountable. Anyways, I didn't want to go too long on this. I wanted to stretch this around a little bit. If you have any ideas for, what needs to be covered on this, I think lies is enough. I think it kind of covers everything enough. I don't care about what kind of good Joe Biden is, because they'll just throw that all over the place. What they won't do is that you're not going to see this stuff nearly as much. It's really going to be all the great things, because who does that? No, we all do that, right? We all talk about all the good things that we've done and not the bad things. And for normal people like us, it's like, well, yeah, because we're all human. We make mistakes, and you should be trying to improve so that you don't do those same mistakes over. It's like, no, don't tell me that you're sorry. That's something a little child says because they're too stupid and they lack the ability to do very much. But as an adult, it's like, no, if you're really sorry, then you should have the actions to back it up. It's like, if you steal from me and you say you're sorry, but you keep stealing, then you're not sorry, you've lied. Little kids will do that. They'll steal a little cookie from a cookie jar, say they're sorry, then they'll steal a cookie again. It's because, they don't understand things. They don't understand that sugar's bad for you, and you don't want to get into bad habits. You don't want to be just randomly snacking, that you want to have your meals when you're supposed to. They don't get all that. It's too complicated for little kids. But as you grow up, it's like, no, you should understand that, and then you should just do it. But if you're already grown up, it's like, no, saying that you're sorry, but then you continue to steal from me, from whatever, means you're not sorry, you've lied. You have to have a change in your actions. So, and they know this. You could, even if you want to make the argument that for some reason Joe Biden is just an absolute horrible, dumb politician that doesn't understand the way the political system works, he has somebody in his cabinet, in his office, part of his administration, that they know exactly how this is. And he should be embarrassed and ashamed every time that he's doing something like this, because this just shows that he's just incompetent, that he's stupid, that he's just arrogant, that he just doesn't care. And it's like, this is not a kind of person who I want leading the country. But it's the way that it's been as far as I can remember with all of them. I guess maybe not Reagan. I don't know, but I was young then, so it's not like I was very political back then, but it seemed like he had quite a few good things going on. So, but I mean, I don't know. If I were to look back on it now as an adult, I'm sure I could find issues with him too. So leave comments down below if you think that there's something else. Hopefully I can catch it. Maybe I'll add it. No promises, but I'll look at it. And so if you too, if you're tired of all the lies and the manipulation and the playing around with words and like the articles where I reworded it, man, that's what I want to do with this too. So, help me out. I would really appreciate to see a thumbs up and a like and subscribe, because I'm not stopping with this stuff at all. I don't know if I'll be doing a video tomorrow. My entire day is just busy tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll do something on the weekend. I don't know. We'll just see. But anyways, thanks for watching. We'll catch you again later. Bye.